A set of antique pews, the church piano, even a collection of books dating back to the 1800s. These are just some of the items destroyed in a fire at Morinville Baptist Church on September 23rd. But Pastor Bill Wicks isn't thinking about what was lost.
I'm thinking, well, what are we going to learn through this? What has the Lord to teach us through this? It's not, things do not happen to believers just by mere chance. And so I'm sitting there saying to myself, wow, the building's gone, but the church is still here.
Fire crews responded to an emergency call at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday, September 23rd. When they arrived, the flames burned high. Church member Al Brettnel lives only a couple of blocks away. He was one of the first on the scene.
Our neighbor, her dog woke her up. And while she was tending to her dog, she noticed a bunch of flashing lights. So she phoned us about, it was about 5:45 in the morning, and said, I think your church is on fire. So I threw a couple things on and ran around the corner because we live just barely a block away from the church, and sure enough, there was smoke pouring out of everything.
And he said, I hate to wake you up at this time in the morning. I'm surprised he was up that early, and so I knew something was on. He said, the church is on fire. I said, it's what? I was just thinking, well, I hope they can get that out, but there was a bit of a difficulty in that the basement had no windows, and the fire had started in the basement, so it was hard to fight because they went in the building apparently at one point and got pushed out. The heat was too great.
Thankfully, no one was inside the building and there were no injuries. Fire crews had the blaze under control by mid-morning. Investigators determined the cause of the fire was electrical, beginning in the basement. Damage estimates reached $1 million. The church must be entirely rebuilt. All they could salvage were a few mementos.
We had 2 of our scrapbooks saved from the fire, and there is a what would you call it, mural needlepoint that was saved, and I think there were a few other things like that. Not much, but they give us a little bit of remembrance of the past.
Pastor Wicks' sermon notes were also lost in the fire, so he spoke from his heart on Sunday morning as the congregation met in a member's backyard the day after the fire.
I sought the Lord what he wanted me to preach on, and I was very busy on Saturday, a very long day. And I turned to the book of Psalms and spoke on Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And I think it was a very appropriate psalm for that Sunday, talking about him looking after us even though we go through the valley of the shadow of death. And, you know, he is always with us through every trial and circumstance we have.
The next step, determine where to hold services while they rebuild. Morinville Christian School offered up their space for the church as a temporary location as long as they need it.
Of course, everybody is wondering what our God is trying to do through this and teach us, but so far we have been very, very brought together, I think, through it, closer.
I've heard the word devastating used by everybody except Christians, and I'm so happy to hear that because, you know, to us, we lost a building, but it was just a place to meet. We have another place to meet. We've had several offers of places to meet, and now we have an opportunity to do something maybe bigger, maybe better. Who knows?
People in the church are saying they've even seen a few new faces around. Attendance has increased since the fire.
Right now we're saying, what is the Lord trying to show us through this? Is he trying to tell us to rebuild where we are? And if we do rebuild, we'll probably add a little bit of space to it. Or is he saying, look at maybe some other property where we have a little bit more room?
As the congregation talks about whether to rebuild or relocate within Morinville, leaders are using this as an opportunity to look back at the church's history and how far it has come. When the church was founded in the mid-'80s, the community initially opposed a Baptist church moving in.
And we got stuck down in an area that was totally unpopulated, no houses around us. We're at a dead-end road. Today that road is open. We have much traffic by it, and it's become so much more exposed to the community in the last couple of years. When the fire happened, we had many people from the community saying, "We really need you in this community." And the attitude had changed over the years.
The attitude at this church is a positive one. A few weekends after the fire, the church holds a potluck lunch. Everyone brings their share of food and fun.
You know, nobody's ever said this, but the church that eats together, maybe we can make a new saying. Maybe they meet together, they stay together.
The church building as they knew it is gone. But to them, it's just God's way of pointing them to what really matters.
We're the church. That's the building. It's our suit of clothes, but it's not us.
For 100 Huntley Street in Morinville, Alberta, I'm Meagan Kelly.